ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, a little late on this. This is the show from last Friday, TNA Victory Road, on the 2 GCW shows from last week. I will get those up later on this week. GCW, the bad one, and GCW, the G Code. Have not watched the G Code yet. It's been an interesting week. Haven't been able to watch a lot of wrestling, so I haven't been able to get that show done. Just barely got these two shows done recently. And then Back to Back starts is on tomorrow, and tonight was GCW Aurora. So hopefully I'll get those three shows, Aurora, Back to Back, and G Code, all watched, all reviewed this week. So a little late on those, we'll definitely get them up. TNA Victory Road from last Friday night. Overall, pretty good show. Not a lot of big surprises in my opinion. You kind of figured on some stuff that was going to happen. So we had 3 pre-show matches, or countdown matches, or whatever the heck they're called, and TNA Countdown to Victory Road matches. We had 3 of them. The first one was KUSHIDA versus Slater. KUSHIDA, he does that hoverboard lock, and so he was really working on the arm and trying to wear down Slater. But Slater was able to, with his striking ability, kind of get out of those predicaments sometimes. Slater kicked KUSHIDA to the outside. Slate did a big old dive. I mean, he literally jumped from over the turnbuckle, and I think it's kind of cool when they do those kind of weird moves. Normally you see it over the ropes, kind of on the sides. This one was over the turnbuckle. Dive to the outside onto KUSHIDA, because KUSHIDA thought he'd be smart and be like, hey, I'll walk around the corner. You can't dive. Slater said, oh, yes, I sure can, and did the big dive. This match lasted 7 minutes and 52 seconds. To me, this is one of those kind of upbeat, kind of the high-flying a little bit with Slater to kind of get the crowd up and going, and the kick off the night with, and that's exactly how they used this match. 3.5 star with KUSHIDA getting the victory there. And then we had a massive tag team match. We had Hammerstone and Jake Something taking on Eric Young and Steve Maclin. What's weird about this, for me at least, Eric Young and Steve Maclin kind of had their battles. It's almost like we battled against each other, now let's battle together kind of deal. This match started on the outside of the ring brawl. This true brawl on the outside of the ring. Just hard-hitting brutes with Hammerstone and Jake Something. I actually like them as a tag team. If you could put a manager with them that could talk, I think they could be one hell of a tag team. This match lasted 6 minutes 56 seconds, kind of the big hoss fight. I ended up giving it 3 star. I actually enjoyed this match a lot. Hammerstone and Something, again, as a tag team, I kind of like it. Eric Young, kind of one of the founding fathers of TNA, and Steve Maclin, kind of that brawler kind of guy. Then we had a show start. The first match on the main card was the Hardys taking on First Class. So now with Rich Swann being out, First Class new member has been Casey Navarro, teaming up with AJ Francis, taking on Jeff and Matt Hardy. Casey Navarro kind of mocked Jeff Hardy doing the dance and all. It was kind of funny as hell, actually. Francis went for a swanton and missed. Just need a big man like that come off the top rope and then miss. It's like, oh, that was so bad. Honestly, this match wasn't great. I ended up giving it 2 3/4 with the Hardys getting the victory in 9.5 minutes, 9:39 to be exact. It was one of those matches for me. It was like, okay, this match is there. But next up, we had the TNA X Division Championship on the line. We had champion Zachary Wentz taking on former champion Speedball Mike Bailey. These two guys actually started off mat wrestling, which, okay, not from these guys. But then the strikes began, and they started super kicking one another. Wentz did a big dive to the outside. Bailey went to do a dive off under the rope, and was able to catch Wentz. Wentz was able to catch Bayley in the ropes and did a double stomp off of it. And honestly, it was a great match. It's just a good, great match to watch. But there wasn't a lot of those kind of like, oh, this spot happened. It was just good wrestling. And these two guys, the strikes of Speedball, Zachary Wentz off the top rope. Speedball Mike Bailey is your new TNA X Division champion. Zachary Wentz had 14 days. That is the fewest days of an X Division champion since Mike Bennett in 2016. So I don't know what the purpose was of taking the title off of Bayley and giving it to Wentz. The only thing I can think of is at the last NXT show, Wentz was in a match and they wanted the title on him for that. That's the only reason you would take a title and bring it back. It was just kind of, what show was it? No Mercy. Yeah, Wentz fought Wesley. So it's like, you literally just put the title on for him to be on NXT with the title, then you put it back on Bayley. Regardless, 4-star match. Match of the night, actually, for me. So that was a 4-star match of the night match. I think some people may have given it more than 4-star, but that's fine. To each their own. I was right at 4-star with it. Next up, we had was supposed to have been Rhino and PCO taking on Matt Cardona and Steph Delander. Steph Delander came out and got a promo that she needs neck surgery. So yeah, that's pretty serious. I didn't realize she'd been hurt. She kind of went down the road, talked about all that, and talked about Cardona and the whole angle with her being PCO's wife and stuff. Hope the best for her. Hopefully that all works out well. So yeah, that match didn't happen because of all that. So we'll see what's next for Matt Cardona and PCO. But for now, that match did not happen. Steph Delander will be out of action. She's been actually doing a lot in GCW as well, with Mansoor Warner and Matt Cardona. So yeah, we'll see where that all goes. But next up, we had the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles on the line. We had champion Masha Slamovich and Alisha Edwards. Alisha being hurt and not clear to wrestle. Her replacement was Tasha Steelz, taking on Spitfire, Dani Luna, and Jody Threat. Stipulation on this match was if Spitfire loses, they have to disband. Typically, when you hear that kind of, that's one of those weird stipulations. It's like, oh yeah, they're not losing. And that was the case here. With Alisha Edwards not cleared, she was still out there in a neck brace, which I don't understand. Match wasn't great. 11 minutes, and not a lot happened. I give it 2.5 stars with Spitfire winning. Then Masha confronted Alisha, and Steelz attacked Masha. So I'm thinking that tag team is done. So yeah, it's like, now what's next for Masha? Is she going to feud with Alisha Edwards and Tasha? Okay, then who wrestles for the tag titles? I don't know. So yeah, so we'll see what happens there. I give that match 2.5 stars. Next up, if you say his name, he will appear. Joe Hendry taking on Josh Alexander. This was an interesting matchup, but with what Joe Hendry's been doing in NXT and with TNA and how that relationship's been working, he's kind of been everywhere. And he's actually going to show up in House of Glory coming up. Josh Alexander, one of the best wrestlers in TNA history, longest reigning champion in TNA history. His heel turn a couple months ago was weird at first, but I kind of like it now. But this match was pretty good. Alexander put a cross body, knocked down Hendry to the floor. Hendry ankle lock on Josh. Josh tapped, but there was no referee. But then having Joe Hendry, after almost 17 minutes, 16:52 to be exact, tap out Josh Alexander to the ankle lock, which is one of Josh's moves. That was weird to me. So it was like, okay, now what's next? Do we do like a no holds barred and we ban the ankle lock? Do we do something like that? I don't know what's actually next with these two. So it's going to be interesting to see. I haven't watched Impact this week yet. So we'll see. Interesting to see how that feud builds. But overall, the match was pretty good. I give it 3 3/4 star. Next up, we had the TNA tag titles on the line. We had champion ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay taking on the System, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. Now, Chris Bay has been injured. The System attacked him and injured his ribs. They were going after the ribs. Brian Myers speared him on the outside. ABC went for the 1-2 sweet. Edwards caught. So, ABC, Bay comes off the top rope. Edwards caught him and did a side slam again on the ribs. Myers kicks Bay in the ribs. They attacked the ribs. Myers ended up spearing Eddie Edwards as Eddie was going for the Boston Knee Party. They were able to get Eddie out of the ring, and Brian Myers and Eddie was able to pin Chris Bay. And the System, once again, your TNA Tag Team Champions. 15.5 minutes. I gave the match 3.5 star. Solid match. Didn't like ABC losing the titles. But obviously, Chris Bay is hurt. But I wanted to see a singles run between these two guys as well now. I'd like to see Ace Austin versus Chris Bay, to be honest with you. I think that would be hella fun. But yeah, overall, pretty good match here. Next up, we had the TNA Knockout title on the line. Champion Jordynne Grace taking on NXT's Wendy Choo. This NXT relationship with TNA. I hate the fact that TNA is sending their top stars, Jordynne Grace, Joe Hendry, Frankie Kazarian, Hammerstone. And what they get back on their shows in the Rascals is a Wendy Choo. They get a Aniana Grace. They get C stars. They're sending their A stars and they're getting C and D stars back. I don't think this is an equal partnership. And we all know it wouldn't be. WWE doesn't do that. As recently reported by the owner of Rev Pro, typically when WWE does these kind of deals, it isn't, ever how long it is, year or whatever. At the end of that, WWE has the option of buying the company. And that's why Rev Pro didn't do anything with him, because he didn't want to sell. He's like, I don't want to sell my company, so I'm not going to do that. So we'll see what happens with TNA. If the idea is to bring in the Hammerstones, the Jordynne Graces, the Joe Hendry, pull that talent to NXT WWE, and then TNA becomes a thumbnail on WWE Network. I don't know yet. But yeah, this match was not good. Wendy Choo had the Cobra Clutch on Grace on the top rope, and Jordynne Grace was able to power out of it. This match was all about Jordynne Grace and her power. She was able to power out almost everything Wendy Choo threw at her. Jordynne Grace got the victory. 11 minutes. I give it 2 3/4 star. After the match, Rosemary comes out and spears Jordynne Grace. Rosemary's been on TNA and NXT as well with Wendy Choo. And then Choo put Jordynne Grace out with the sleeper. So I'm assuming we end up with Rosemary versus Jordynne Grace. Maybe at Bound for Glory. Don't know yet. But yeah, that's what's going to be interesting as well. Is Bound for Glory is coming up. TNA's biggest show of the year. How much is NXT going to play a part in that show? Only time will tell what that happens, but we'll see. But next up, we have the TNA World Title line. We had champion Nic Nemeth taking on Moose, former champion. Moose put Nemeth through a table on the outside. JDC came out with Alisha Edwards for the distraction. Moose has the title in his hand, went to hit Nemeth with the title behind the referee's back. Mike Santana comes out and stops him. System pulls up the referee when Nemeth goes to get the count. Nemeth stopped the referee from DQing Moose. Yeah, it was just, he got very, very clustery at the end of this match. And JBL comes out. John Bradshaw Layfield comes out and takes out Edwards and Brian Myers. And that leads to Nic Nemeth getting the pin on Moose. Straight pin. I give it 3 1/4. I mean, maybe it was a 3.5 star match, but I hated that you had such a match that could be so good, but you had all the other stuff, distractions, and it didn't, for me, honestly, it didn't add anything to it. It almost took away from the match, having the System out there, having Alisha Edwards out there, having JBL come out at the end. JBL's been showing up at a lot of shows. He showed up at a GCW show. He showed up at an MLW show. He showed up at a TNA show. He showed up at WWE shows. It's like, what the hell? JBL's everywhere those days. Nic Nemeth retaining his TNA World title. I'm giving the match 3 1/4, like I said. So we have Jordynne Grace still TNA Knockout Champion. Nic Nemeth still TNA World Heavyweight Champion. The System, the Tag Team Champions. Spitfire, the Knockout Tag Team Champions. Mike Bailey, new X Division Champion. So we had a lot of title changes. The big 2 main titles stayed the same. Overall, Victory Road, good show, top to bottom. Stay tuned for GCW reviews this week as we lead up to Bound for Glory for TNA. We'll do a best of Bound for Glory. I've been watching some of the old stuff. It's kind of cool. But that is TNA and Victory Road. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. From the independent scene to the main event of WrestleMania. Don't just have a great night. Have a spiffy night. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.